Alright, as always, you can go to YouTube channel My Medical Nightmare and see 40 plus hours video on everything that happened to me. Alright, update on disciplinary actions against orthopedic Dr. Scott Katzman. And stay tuned, I'll go into the details of my own patient experience with this doctor and his associates. Very shady, and these are not very well thought out scams that they're running. This can be found on the New York State Department of Health website, and I'll give the exact link to the documents. As of November 2024, this link shows up at about the 4th position on Google when you type in and search the name Scott Katzman, MD. Some interesting new items about this doctor can be seen here. He has a new settlement he's paying in Passaic County. And in a previous video, I mentioned where Katzman was up for disciplinary action in the state of Michigan. The New York profile for Katzman mentions the outcome of this: sanction $500 fine. Notice of sanction form to be sent to licensing authorities. And then the main topic of this video: in the state of New York, in October 2024, Dr. Katzman has been censured and reprimanded. And it says here he must fully comply with the July 10th, 2023 Florida Board of Medicine order. And this is related to the earlier incident in the state of Florida. There are many complaints against this doctor from patients and customers. Television broadcaster WPTV NBC Channel 5 out of West Palm Beach, Florida, did a piece on Katzman in 2019, and they looked at his medical practice, orthopedic and laser spine surgery. WPTV found through state records that Katzman's insurance had paid out more than $1.6 million in 7 malpractice cases. They also found he was linked to 2 patient deaths through his procedures in the state of Florida. And they mentioned problems here with having the Florida Board of Medicine and concerns that they are not doing enough to regulate the activities of doctors named in malpractice situations. However, despite the number of complaints that exist on the internet and the coverage in the media, the state of Florida Department of Health has been somewhat sluggish in holding this medical doctor accountable. You can search Katzman's medical license to operate at the Florida Department of Health website. And under final disciplinary actions reported by the Department of Health within the last 10 years, you can find this entry in September 2023. The allegation is that the doctor made deceptive, untrue, or fraudulent representations in their operative report. Fined $5,000 with additional costs of $7,500. And according to the report here, Dr. Katzman was credited as leading an operation in 2016, which was in fact performed by another doctor. And the documents claim Katzman only assisted in this operation. You can see several hours documentation on my interaction with this doctor based in the state of Florida and New Jersey, and his associate, Dr. Wayne J. Broth, MD. I've got scanned records, emails, as well as recorded telephone exchanges that you can listen to between myself and the offices of these doctors. They're up on my YouTube channel. I sent images of a very serious broken skull based injury to these doctors. They stated as such in email and telephone calls that they reviewed these images and that no injuries appeared. And this was not true. I had a lot of strange problems crop up in the process of getting my free MRI analysis from these doctors. Sent the pictures in early 2022. There was a brief period of back and forth email exchange between myself and the office of this doctor. Then in an email, I was asked about insurance information. I, of course, have no insurance. I have no source of income. And despite them offering a free MRI review, at this point, 5 months of silence set in. So they lost interest in helping me out despite their free service. Finally, 5 months later, I was contacted and told that Dr. Wayne J. Broth, who works with Orthopedic Laser Spine Surgery of Florida, had reviewed my records that I sent in and wanted to do the consultation all of a sudden, out of the blue, really. Yeah, go up there to YouTube and listen to that telephone call with Dr. Broth, and you'll hear he tries to convince me for most of the call that I have no injury present. Finally, I asked for this doctor's first name, and he all of a sudden wanted to get off the telephone. So this is very suspicious. I filed complaints against Orthopedic and Laser Spine Surgery, Dr. Scott Katzman, and Dr. Wayne J. Broth with the Florida Department of Health in 2022. I had a lot of problems with the Department of Health not looking into my case. They stalled the investigation for 4 months. At one point, they told me that my records that I provided were not complete. I argued that they had more than enough material to go on. They weren't interested in the emails, which contained IP addresses, which the state of Florida could have traced back to Dr. Katzman's computers, for example. They weren't interested in the recorded telephone calls between myself and Dr. Wayne Broth. They could have easily called the doctor's number and spoke to him. You can hear my recorded telephone calls with the representatives of the Florida Department of Health on my YouTube channel. And eventually, they simply would not investigate my case and my complaints, despite the fact that there are these numerous judgments, disciplinary actions, as well as these news reports in the media detailing the actions of this doctor. I think the state of Florida is simply lazy. The Florida Department of Health, Dr. Scott Katzman, Wayne J. Broth, and Orthopedic Laser Spine Surgery in the state of Florida. These are all very untrustworthy outfits. And prospective patients out there, do your research before you seek health treatment in the state of Florida. I believe there's a possibility of conspiracy in my dealings with Scott Katzman's office as it relates to the other documentation that you'll see in my videos. There's a curious several month lapse between when I submitted my MRI and CT images to this doctor and when he finally decided to do the consultation. And I believe he contacted the original radiologist and doctors involved. Dr. Julian Patrick Druhan, MD, Donald Shane Kelly, MD, Michael Brant Ruff, MD, and Angus Baird, MD. These doctors were associated with Birmingham Radiological Group, Vulcan Imaging Associates, and Ascension St. Vincent's Hospital in Birmingham, Alabama.
Dr. Broth, I received your voicemail. I'll give you a shout back whenever you get a chance. 908.
Can you tell me what state you're calling from?
We're in Florida and New Jersey.
So did you have a chance to look at these images?
I do. I saw, yeah. I looked at the images. You had a lot of scans in the past. What was the reason for that?
Are you a doctor?
I am.
Okay, if you look at the scans, the issue is pretty obvious.
Okay, which is what?
Okay, well, you're the doctor. You didn't see the massive injury?
I didn't.
You didn't, okay.
No.
Can you tell me your background? What's your specialty?
Sure, so I'm internal medicine.
Internal medicine, okay. Now, I contacted Dr. Katzman, Laser Spine Surgery. Do you have those images in front of you now?
I do.
All right, so I called Dr. Scott Katzman, laser spine surgery. So what do you do in regards to, like bone issues, orthopedic issues related to the spine?
Yeah, it all depends on what the issue is. We do multiple different procedures, multiple different surgeries, so it all depends on what the problem is, what the symptoms are, what the imaging findings are. Okay.
Are you a radiologist?
I'm not.
Okay, so when you look at these pictures, you can identify injuries necessarily?
I typically can, but I don't see an injury on yours.
Okay, so do you have all of these images in front of you now?
What do you mean by all? All I have is an MRI, a couple pictures of the MRI.
Okay, I've got an image here, and it's numbered 34, screenshot 34. Can you pull that up?
That I don't have.
Okay. Well, is there any way I could get these pictures to you so you can send them? Because I have a very serious injury. I broke the underside of my skull. And
how did you do that?
How did I do that? That's a good question. I don't know. But anyways, in these pictures you can see my injury very clearly. So I had an infection grow, and it grew out to about 6 inches in diameter. That's present in the MRI pictures. So you didn't see that? 6 inches diameter of infection in my skull?
I didn't. Who told? Did the radiologist tell you that you have an infection in the skull?
Okay, well you're the doctor, so I was going to ask you what you thought about it.
Yeah, I don't see any evidence of infection. How do you know that you had an infection there in the skull?
Okay, I will direct you to those images. If you can access them, the evidence is present in the pictures.
So you don't know how you said that you broke the base of your skull. You don't know how you did that?
Yeah, I don't, but I almost died from this injury in 2019. And I went around to several hospitals, doctors at that time, and had these images taken. And they told me I had no injury. I knew better because I was dying. And then after several months, the infection and parasites set in. I had 3-inch long insects grow in this wound, the upper area of my neck, beneath the crack in my skull.
All right, so who told you that you had parasites growing?
Okay, you're the doctor, so I'm going to direct you to those images, please, and you'll see the evidence in the pictures.
Yeah, you don't have any. I don't see any evidence of parasites in
okay, could you give me your name, please? Your Dr. Broth. What's your first name?
Yeah, it's best that we don't, that you probably don't speak further, because I don't think that we're going to be a match for you.
You're not a real doctor, are you?
Oh, yep, you're right. I'm not a real doctor. Yep, exactly.
Okay. You need to get some glasses and go to medical school, and you'll see what happened to me. And this is not a trivial matter at all, sir. Have a nice day.